Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream, everybody. I'm sorry if you heard my alarm telling me that it was time to stream. So yeah, we pick up this run where we left off. We had put a dent in Brittany, and we'd conquered most of Provence. The problem I'm facing right now is Burgundy is pretty beefy. It doesn't have many friends, but it's beefy. And then Brittany has decided to align itself with Austria, England, and the Papal State. So I think what I'm going to do is consolidate France, strengthen my rule, and then start pushing in on Savoy and take some of these provinces down here. So let's get going on that. And he will be useful. I've also got some loans I would like to pay off before I start getting too worried about what to do with Burgundy. And yeah, the goal for this run is to expand France to what at least Napoleon viewed as her natural borders. The Pyrenees in the south, which we've hit. We've got the Alps, more or less already. And then we've got to push to the Rhine, so we've got our work cut out for us. And that missionary strength will come in handy once the Reformation starts. And our air is looking pretty solid, all things considered. Okay, what can you guys... That would be a useful ally to have, because it might allow me to screw the Savoy... Oh, never mind. Well, at least they're my ally, so if they go to war with Naples, I'm just going to abandon it. But yeah, I've got some vassals to integrate and some smaller targets I want to conquer before I go fight my first big boss, which is going to be the Burgundians, I think. Besides, I don't like waging foreign wars when I've got separatists at home I gotta worry about. And once I get my colonization set up and start making money off the New World, the Burgundians, if they're still around at that point, won't be able to counter anything I'm doing. I'd like to get Elan before I really start fucking with any of my larger rivals. Also, I was just looking at the, France is a good country to explore the Leviathan mechanics, because I heard how overpowered these great projects were, and just looking at this, these are some stupidly OP monuments when they get up to their, max level. I'll levy church taxes, gotta pay back those loans, because we're not going Republic, we're going full French monarchy. And the one thing that really fucked the French monarchy over was the sheer amount of debt that it got into. Well, there are lots of things that fucked the French monarchy over, but one of the big ones was the enormous amount of debt it got into, basically aiding the US in the revolution. Because the French monarchy was willing to do a lot if it meant fucking over the Brits. Including bankrupting their entire country. What is produced in Toulouse? That's the important question. I'll take that production. Once I rescind those the monopolies I've given to my estates. That'll be a huge cash draw for me. Why has the Pope excommunicated me? Get fucked, Mr. Popey. Is he... Have you decided to rival me? Who's the papal controller? No, it's the papal state. Wonder if it's even worth improving relations, but I'm gonna try. I will not deal with rebellious nobility. You assholes will fall in line. See, the Pope can give me some pretty strong buffs, so I don't really want to fuck around with the restraint of... And I plan on staying Catholic during this run. Because I think Catholicism is mechanically more powerful than its Protestant counterparts, though the Orthodox faith is, in this game, the mechanically the most overpowered religion. The icon mechanics are just stupidly OP. I think my next idea group is going to be a military one, and then I'm going to pivot towards colonialization, because at that point I should be able to easily get the colonial range I need to start establishing New France in Canada and Louisiana. This is a mod I'm fucking around with. It's you can educate your heir, which I thought was kind of cool. But trying to figure that one out. Almost there. I hate having loans to worry about in this game. So I usually will avoid getting into debt if I can. The only ones I will accept are the bourgeoisie loans. But let's summon a diet. Church in Orleans. I can do that. Yeah, there's that sweet, sweet French income you start getting. I think France has the highest base tax in Europe at the start of the game. By a lot. I just know only England really can come close to France in early game income because of the English Channel. But England's trade can be disrupted if someone does build a stronger navy, which is unlikely, but it can be done. Really, the only way you're beating the English at sea is size. You'd just have to completely outsize their navy. I don't think Florence is going to be a problem in this run. But you are right. Florence, any of the big Italian states, if they manage to unite northern Italy, they are making stupid amounts of money with both end nodes under their control. France is honestly my favorite country to play. I mean, they're just a good all-rounder. They can do pretty much everything all right, and you can experience pretty much everything the game has to offer as France. Nice. Go away, Geneva. I'm not interested in what you're doing. Okay. Just fabricating claims on him. I'll also probably try to grab the Romandie to sort of round out my southeastern border. No, the Papal State looks like it's going to be the big problem in Italy right now, unless Milan really gets its shit together. Which, usually Milan will last until the very end of the game. Austria lost the emperor, the seat of emperor, which is interesting. They aren't even an elector, so I think the HRE is going to be looking pretty weird. Well, weirder than normal. And we've got this very thick Danzig going on up here. So we might see Prussia form. Because if they can get get liberation from Poland, they could very well form Prussia. Yeah, I'm not going to be helping you, Savoy. I'm going to conquer you. Yeah, I'm not going to lose that stability. Church in Orléans to keep the clergy happy. How's everyone doing tonight? Chat seems kind of quiet. Wait, is Burgundy trying to... Oh, those bastards are trying to eat Savoy. I'm gonna eat Savoy. That's no problem. Just relax and watch me conquer shit. Alright, got my claims on Savoy. They should not be a problem. Especially because they're getting nuked by Burgundy right now. Burgundy, however, will be a problem. They've gotten pretty thick, and they managed to produce an heir, so we aren't getting Burgundian inheritance. That said, I don't like how they reworked it, where it's a winner-take-all situation, when in reality the Burgundy wound up being divided between France and Austria. Fair enough. Yeah, I used to work a job like that. I was a warehouse worker in when I was in college. And It's like 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. just about every day. So yeah, just pour yourself a glass of whiskey and enjoy the history and the well, glorious French world conquest. Yeah, those monopolies are good for early game income, but once you get your crown land up to like 50-60%, you're going to want to start revoking them. That would be extremely cursed, but I could probably do it. Oh, got some separatists. I'm hoping this war between Savoy and Burgundy is over soon. I need to conquer some things. Alright, do I take the idea? No, I should hold out for the next tech. At least this gives me something to do while I wait for Savoy and Burgundy to settle their differences. Can look at this sexy map mod I have installed. Called Europa Reborn. And if you don't mind your computer room getting very hot, it's a very nice looking terrain mod. Integrate them. Let's take those firearm regiments. There we go. So I need to get enough gold together that I can actually experiment with these great projects. Because I'd heard these were stupidly OP. I think ISAR Productions did a video on it. If I saw it a while ago. Alright, got Verdun back. Come on, Burgundy, wrap shit up. I want to take a bite out of Savoy next. But the goal for this game is to expand France to at least what Napoleon viewed as its natural borders, i.e. the Rhine River. Yeah, we're not getting that excommunication lifted. But I don't want Foix to start getting any troublesome ideas of independence, so... It is warm in my apartment right now, but I am just so glad this heat wave is over. I was actually able to walk around outside today without melting. The east coast of the US has been fucking on fire lately. Not literally, but it's been really fucking hot. Heat index was like 102, 103 all last week. This has been a weird summer, weather-wise. Surprised they didn't give any like great works to Vienna or Berlin, Paris, Madrid, Granada have them, and of course the Tower of London. But there's nothing in like Berlin, Vienna. There's one. There's the Cologne Cathedral is the only one I've spotted in Germany. Russia has the Kremlin, of course, and then Hagia Sophia. Seem to be too many in Turkey proper, and the Parthenon as well. Does it? That's one I will actually end up conquering. Maybe I might conquer... No, it doesn't. But I should end up conquering Cologne, so I'll take that one as well. Though it looks like the benefits for big cathedrals are very similar to one another, because I have Notre Dame, and it gives us the papal influence. That's true. We'll just be getting fucking great projects DLC for the next couple years. Because I don't think we're seeing EU5 for a very long time. I honestly wonder how they expect new people to get into these games, because the upfront cost, like, for the base game is one thing, but there's a lot of DLC that's almost essential to like really experiencing the game how it's meant to be played these days. And I don't know how they expect people to just like want to come in when the game costs $200-300 for the base game plus all the DLC. Let's start with quantity, because we don't really have to start worrying about quality until later in the game. And that's an idea I can grab. Get that manpower. Still catching up on Diplo, but that's one of the less important tech levels you can get. You need. I'm going to expand administration, get some extra governing capacity. I wish I'd known that before I've already got almost all of it, so there's... It is what it is, but I just don't know how they expect to bring new people in with that kind of a model. Granted, I think Paradox knows they have their fans who will buy the stuff they put out regardless. Because they're really the only ones that do this sort of thing. That's true. That makes sense. But no, if you want a game like this, Paradox is pretty much the only game in town, so they know they got you by the balls. Alright. Let's... Oh, I need diplomats. That will also keep my vassals loyal. And once I have all of them integrated... Yeah. No, Diplo points are important, but the tech... I haven't really got anything to worry about with Diplo tech until I get my third idea group up and running, because there's no point going like super early colonialization as France, because you don't have the range to get to the New World just yet. Where did they go? Oh, well. Friesland is involved in this one, apparently. Yeah. If as long as you know what you're doing, you will almost never be poor in EU4. Regardless of who you play as. Like, the starts for some countries can be pretty rough. But, like, even if you're playing as, like, a Brandenburg, which is objectively one of the poorest countries in Europe at the game start, you can get money going pretty quickly. How's our church construction going on? Did I finish that mission? I think I did. Yep. Alright, once I'm at peace again, I can seize more crown land. Alright, got it. Yeah, I mean, games inside the HRE are always a pain in the ass. Brandenburg is only fun because you can eventually... Hey there, welcome to the stream. But yeah, Prussia's only fun because you eventually get those god-tier military ideas that allow you to just steamroll over everybody. Yeah, and you constantly have to deal with the Emperor being a little bitch every time you conquer your neighbors. Not all of them. Some of them have been pretty garbage. But stuff like, well, I'm fucking around with Leviathan right now, and honestly I can't really tell much of a difference just yet. But Rights of Man is very good, and I highly recommend it. Also true, yeah. If you can become the Emperor, you can just ignore all of it. Or even an Elector. If you can become an Elector, you're... Actually, Rights of Man is worth it if you play in the HRE a lot. Also true. The Emperor lets his friends do pretty much whatever the fuck they want. Which is kind of how things went down historically. Actually, there's a great video I watched when I was like looking into buying some of this DLC. Let me see if I can find it for you. So this video is a little bit out of date, but it covers most of like the big DLC that I would say is important to have. Definitely wait until you get like a Steam deal on them before you pull the trigger on that though. Because they happen pretty frequently. Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. Paradox's DLC policy is worse than a lot of companies I've seen. True, but I understand why they're doing that. So it's the main reason the Burgundian territory went to the Spanish Habsburgs was that was just the branch of the family that got it. But when the Burgundian inheritance usually happens in this game, Spain is still ruled by the Trastamara family, so it doesn't actually make that much sense for them to get it. The only reason the Netherlands were ever controlled by Spain was because Spain was also controlled by the Habsburgs, and the Spanish branch of the Habsburgs got the Burgundian lands in succession. So really, it was only Austria and France going at it over this land. Because it was at the borderland of the Kingdom of France and the Holy Roman Empire. So it made sense that those were the two powers who wanted it. Because prior to the Spanish Habsburgs, what interest did the Crown of Spain honestly have in this? Disconnected from their core territory, spoke a different language, and didn't like them all that much. Now, once they had it, that was another story, because it made them a fair amount of money. But prior to the Spanish Habsburgs, no, the Trastamaras would have had no claim on any of this territory. Alright, which Dutch state am I at war with? Alright, there we go. It is, but the Spaniards, it would have been a pain in the ass for them to like come up here and lay claim and fight France and Austria for it. So once they had it through succession with the Spanish Habsburgs, they wanted to keep it. But this would have been out of the way for the Spaniards to try to press a claim to during the period of the Burgundian inheritance. A bridge too far, so to speak. It just would not have been worth their time, really, to march through, to fight both the French and the Austrians. And we can now go on a nice building spree. And I'm going to get Versailles going too, because that gives us a tax boost. Honestly, if you look at a map of early modern Europe and you see the borders and you wonder, well, why the fuck is that happening? It's usually the Habsburgs. 9 times out of 10, it's some Habsburg fuckery caused by marrying their cousins. Sexiest jawline in European history. Six generations of inbreeding did produce some interesting looking people. My favorite being Carlos II, who was so inbred his tongue didn't even fit in his mouth. He is the poster boy for Habsburg Joe. Look at this sexy motherfucker right here. His tongue didn't even fit in his mouth. Also, yeah, the French royal family did some of their own extensive inbreeding, but yeah, this 6-7 generations of inbreeding created that face right there. Almost single-handedly ran the Spanish Empire into the ground. They never quite recovered from him. There were other issues bringing about the downfall of the Spanish Empire, but having a mentally unstable inbred on the throne did not help the situation in the slightest. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, early on, the Habsburgs weren't that bad looking. It was just they ran out of people they weren't related to marry, and then we got him. The inbreeding got so bad that actually the main branch of the Habsburgs died out. It was the later Habsburgs that we're familiar with, like Maria Theresa and Franz Josef. They were actually of the House of Habsburg-Lorraine, which was a cadet branch. The main line Habsburgs died out. Yeah, they're still around. They're one of the European noble families that is still hanging around somewhere. I know one of them is a race car driver, which I thought was kind of funny. Alright, got some territory from Savoy. And a boatload of money. Let's see, the von Hohenzollerns, they're still kicking. The Bourbon family is still alive, albeit as the kings of Spain as opposed to the kings of France. There are some Romanovs still hanging around as well. Yeah, Savoy is going to be expensive to core. Just about caught up on Diplotech. I am not going to be able to integrate these vassals until my excommunication is up. A Habsburg or a Romanov? I gotta look this up. No way! Huh. Alexander Stanislavovich Romanov. That's beautiful. That's awesome. They turn up in all the weirdest places. Let's see. What other... Well, the royal families of Norway, Sweden, and Denmark are still hanging around, but they aren't particularly famous. There are still some of the Ottoman royal line hanging around as well. The Osmanoglu dynasty, there's a few of them. One of them's a comedian in England, actually. Actually, Otto von Habsburg during World War II gave a speech in Baltimore at a West Slavic cultural group He was buddy-buddy with Theodore Marburg, who was a big-time diplomat in Baltimore during the middle of the 20th century. Summon the diet. Auvergne needs a workshop. Where is Auvergne? There it is. Alright, just gotta get a few more admin points and I can core Savoy. I know, and they want you to conquer Brittany, but they don't ever give you claims on it. I think my best method of going after Brittany is going after Burgundy, because I'm not as scared of Burgundy's allies as I am of Brittany's allies. And it'll allow me to unite my territory. I'll probably when I in the peace I'll force Brittany to break their alliances, and then separated from the English and the Austrians, they won't be as much trouble as they are right now. Well, of course we're cracking down on the heresy. Alright, going to mothball my forts now. That'd be nice. I mean, that'd be a nice feature for them to end of the game, because right now Brittany survives entirely. It's cool to see sometimes, but Brittany survives way too long into the game, unless it's a player-controlled France. Yeah, we're not selling titles. That would just be goofy. I need my excommunicated king to die already. His heir is good. Alright, do I have the prestige to afford this? Also, yeah, Holland is a fun country to play. The start can be kind of rough, but alright. There we go. Not excommunicated anymore. Hey, welcome to the stream. I realize I do that quite often, so. Alright, need to get my stability back up. Well, that's a nice feature. And I need to crank out an heir. Alright, so the Pope is probably not going to excommunicate me, and I can start building my prestige back up. I do apologize if you hear any thumping. It is my upstairs neighbors. I swear to God, they have a live horse that they keep up there. It's the only thing that can fucking explain to, why there's that much noise going on up there. Historically, they were always kind of linked to one another, but, oh, fair enough. But, yeah, so Brittany was always kind of in the orbit of France. I mean, how could it not be? But they maintained their independence throughout the medieval era. And then early modern period, Brittany formally comes under the control of France, and they do fight a war with England over it. But it was important for France strategically to be able to control that peninsula. Wait, who's... Oh, Burgundy's gone to... Okay, Burgundy is... Maybe if we're lucky, Burgundy will get attacked by the Emperor. Okay, they are fighting a swarm. So, if we get lucky, they'll do a number on the Burgundians. And I need 100 stability, so... But we're getting prestige now. So it's only a matter of time till we get back on our feet. That early excommunications can really fuck you over in this game. Like, if I was any power weaker than France, I'd be in trouble. No, I hate these guys. Let's get you out of here. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna fucking buy followers. What kind of hack does that? They turn up all the fucking time though. They're like the Twitch equivalent of the we're calling about your car warranty or whatever the fuck. I get at least one of those fucking calls a day. Looks like Burgundy's getting the shit kicked out of it. Which is fine with me. I know, that Papal State is looking pretty thick. We might get to see if they get big enough, they can form their own kingdom, I think. Alright, get that stability boost. And I'll take more governing capacity. Yep, that's it. The Kingdom of God. I know there's like a whole event chain you can do as the Papal State to get that. Why are you are in no position to be insulting me right now, Brittany? Got some really valuable provinces down here now, though. And I think Savoy is pretty fucked. I think they're done. Alright, and I can integrate Foix now. Get full control of the Pyrenees. What's going on? The Byzantines have lasted a long time. That makes me happy to see. Oh, that's why. They're the junior partner of Serbia. Who's Serbia? Serbia's... Well, that's a weird situation. Also, yeah, for whatever reason, the Mamluks like taking this little strip on the southern coast of Anatolia, and they usually won't... The border gore is starting to look kind of gross. What the f... Did... The AI makes some of the most disgusting borders I have ever seen. No, I'm not getting involved in this Burgundian war. Also, yeah, that is... Why are you doing this to me, England? That is disgusting to look at. That is just gross. Stop it. Get some help. I can start upgrading my trade centers. That's what I'll do. Okay, that's new. They added a development requirement to upgrading trade centers. Also, yeah, no, they just released... I've seen Russia do this a lot, where they will conquer and then they'll just release it all as vassals. It's bizarre. Like, I've seen Russia release a giant Kazan vassal that just immediately rebels against them. But they don't fucking learn. Also, we have an heir, so we don't have to worry about personal unions or anything. I've been kicking around the idea of doing some historical meme reviews because I've started cracking open I have I have gigabytes of historical memes that I keep on my computer, and I've started cracking into it for on my Twitter and Facebook. So I think I might want to do a meme review sometime in the future because there's a lot of pretty spicy historical memes that I get a chuckle out of every now and again. Yeah, no, it's just goofy shit like that that honestly kills the AI. Like, it usually causes Russia to disintegrate into a group of very powerful vassals. Yeah, no, I agree. Only the player can really handle that mechanic. It just confuses the AI, which is not all that great to begin with. One only needs to look at the sort of templates the AI comes up with in fucking Hoi 4 to understand just how terrible Paradox AI is. The memes are real. Paradox AI is garbage. Games are fun, but the AI is total fucking garbage. Oh, yeah, no, that was such a good mechanic. No, I missed that too. It boosted your trade power like that. It was so easy. But I need a new military advisor, and I will take you. Save some money. Who are you at war with? Yeah, sure. I don't know why you need to go through my territory to get to fucking Tripoli, but whatever. Alright. So Burgundy's friends are not all that scary. But I am honestly thinking, yep, I'm close to getting cannons, so... Or do I already have cannons? Yes, I do. I should build some cannons. And get up to my force limit before I start fucking with Burgundy. I would take that idea, but I'm really trying to tech up faster. That said, I do honestly, I kind of like how they redid the estates. I just wish you could still give cities to the burghers to boost their trade power, because that was so nice. The way they have it set up now makes the estates a bit more useful, and actually, you know, inclines you to use them. Because I almost never used the estates before they did that update in Emperor. Yeah, I'm gonna need to get cannon superiority before I can really, because otherwise, because Burgundy is such high development provinces, if you don't have a shitload of cannons to just break through them easily, you will be sieging for years. No, I don't really want an alliance with you, Ragusa, but an alliance with Bohemia, that could be useful. Also true. Yeah, I do like that they used to give you mana. I feel like I'm more inclined to use them now, but that's just my playstyle. I usually would just ignore them in the old setups. Hmm. No, I'm just... I should be able... I can use these again soon. I just take that. I like that the control of the land gives you, like, tax bonuses and everything. That... It makes my brain happier as a historian, because that's a bit more like what actually happened as the French crown was able to exert more control over its own territory. Actually, I had a conversation about this recently, completely off topic, but America's national spirit, bourbon, or one of them anyway. The French name confuses people. So there is a Bourbon County, Tennessee or Kentucky, but the name bourbon. So back in the early days of the U.S., a lot of farmers would they would grow excess corn, so they couldn't really sell it. So in order to make money on the extra corn they weren't taking to market, they would distill it into whiskey, which is bourbon is a type of corn whiskey. But those farmers almost all lived on the Mississippi River basin, flowing down to New Orleans. So they would make the whiskey, but the only people who could actually afford to buy it were the rich people living in New Orleans, and the people doing like the gambling boats that went up and down the river. So it kind of took on a name of bourbon to make it sound more appealing to the rich French elite in New Orleans. Which, even after New Orleans became part of the United States, it still maintained a very, very French kind of culture. and that's evidenced by the fact that the state of Louisiana has weird laws. They're the only state in the U.S. that doesn't follow English common law. They actually use a form of Napoleonic law on the state level. Oh yeah, I'm actually drinking it right now. It's if you can find a bottle of this James E. Pepper 1776 bourbon, it is delicious. Only a few liquor stores around me actually carry it, but it's some good stuff. I like it. It's like spicy caramel. It's delicious. Also, yeah, that's another peculiarity about Louisiana. They use the term parish, which is a holdover from the days when they were a French colony. And actually, just because I hear my fellow Americans confusing this all the damn time, Cajuns and Creoles are different. Um, Cajuns are French Canadians who moved to New Orleans when the Acadia colony became part of the English colony of Canada. So that's what they are. They are French people who fled to North. No, Creoles, on the other hand, were an ethnic mix of Africans and French. They were sort of like mestizos, and actually they were upset when Louisiana became part of the United States because they lost a lot of their status that they had because France didn't have a lot of these same racial laws that the U.S. and Britain imposed on their colonies. But yeah, no, you got it. They were Acadians who fled to Louisiana after the French colony of Acadia became part of the British colony. Because Louisiana remained under the control of the French until Napoleon sold it to Jefferson. But Creoles are a different group entirely. They just both lived in Louisiana. They still do. Um, God, I want to visit New Orleans. It is so high on my list of places I need to see before I die. I had a friend who went on her honeymoon there. God, the pictures were just beautiful. So, New Orleans is. I really want to see New Orleans. It's also supposed to be one of the most haunted cities in the United States. So, Lady Renegade will love that. We lost our general. There we go. That is true, yeah. But yeah, I mean, France sold it and they got the money for it, and the Spain, Spain was having trouble come the late 18th century. So yeah, no, Spain could barely control its existing New World colonies. They didn't have the resources to exert influence over a territory that size. Louisiana was huge. It was one of the largest New World colonies. It just was very sparsely populated, at least by Europeans. There were plenty of Native Americans that lived there. And also, no. Um, it might have been a very young United States, but it still would have been more than a match for the Spanish. Given how the US had already proven it could fight toe to toe with Britain twice at that point. in both the Revolution and the War of 1812, which it's unfortunate the War of 1812 is Louisiana Purchase or Seward's Folly. I need to think about that for a second. Also double check what Seward's Folly was. Okay, so definitely Louisiana. At least in the time. Because the Louisiana Purchase gave America the sort of agricultural power it needed to expand its population rapidly without the need to rely on imports. The Alaska colony only really starts to get paid off once it starts producing oil, which doesn't really get important until the late 19th, early 20th century. So up until that point, the main value was the gold, like the Alaska Gold Rush. But there was plenty of gold in California that drew more people west than the gold in Alaska. The people who went into Alaska looking for gold were the ones who missed out on the California Gold Rush. So I would say these days Alaska would have been the better investment simply because of the amount of oil it produces. But considering they weren't really using much like petrol in the 19th century, Louisiana was the better haul back then. And if you're just going like dollars per square mile, I would say that nobody really won the War of 1812. The U.S. and Britain kind of fought each other to a stalemate. And also true, Louisiana has oil refineries, but I'm talking like the sort of pumping of crude that happens in Alaska. Louisiana is really good for refining oil, and I would honestly say that New Orleans is the most strategically important city in North America. Because if you control New Orleans, you control the entire interior of the North American continent through the river basin. If you control Louisiana, if you control New Orleans specifically, you control every city that's reliant on the Mississippi River for trade. You control all the agriculture that happens in that region. Yeah, the only people that lost 1812 were the Native Americans. Yeah, if you control New Orleans, you control the central United States. So I would say that New Orleans is the single most strategically important city in North America. Because it's the key to the entire interior of the country. And early on in American history, the Mississippi River and its offshoots were the mass transit. Prior to like the real expansion of American rail, New Orleans was critical for controlling the Mississippi River basin. Because that was how all the goods that were produced in the middle of the country got out to the Gulf of Mexico, and even it was easier for a farmer to ship his produce down the Mississippi River, out New Orleans, around the Gulf of Mexico and Florida, and into the eastern shore than it was to ship it overland through the Appalachians. And I can tell you, as someone who lives right near Appalachia, it is a bitch to travel through. Even today, even with cars, Appalachia is difficult to travel through. So you can only imagine how much more difficult it was to travel overland through Appalachia in the 18th and 19th centuries. Appalachia is breathtakingly gorgeous, but it is difficult to travel through. And also, yeah, if you control New Orleans, If you control New Orleans, you literally control the United States. Like, have a look at this. If you control the city of New Orleans, you control all of this. The entire interior of the United States. It all flows through New Orleans. So if you control the Mississippi, you control the Ohio, the Tennessee, the Red, the Arkansas, the Missouri, everything. You control the central United States if you control Mississippi. Either there or in Istanbul, because Istanbul is the same thing in Eurasia. Constantinople/Istanbul is the single most strategically important city in the old world. If you control that city, you control all overland routes between Europe and Asia. A close second might be Cairo for its control over the Suez Canal. But I still say Istanbul is incredibly strategically important because it controls a lot of the Eastern Mediterranean and all of the Black Sea. And it's the easiest land route between Europe and Asia. It's always been an important city since Constantine founded it. And you are correct. America's geography, at least since it's controlled the entire central part of the country, makes America a very... Lincoln was correct. America is a country that will only fall from within because America's geography makes it almost impossible to actually get at it. I have a lot to say about Afghanistan. I don't think we ever should have gotten involved in that country. They don't call it the graveyard of empires for nothing. We never had any hope of actually controlling that place in the long term, and it's never been stable. In the entire history of Afghanistan, it has never been stable. Doesn't have any oil underneath it. It does have rare earth minerals, but they're easy places to get them. Honestly, 20 years later, and given that the Taliban was able to regain control of the country in a matter of weeks after we pulled out, we were never going to control that place long term. So it was a waste of money, of material, and most importantly, it was a waste of American and Afghan lives. It's a tragedy, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, he was in Pakistan. He wasn't even in Afghanistan at the time. So, I mean, I am an older millennial. I was born mid-90s, so I grew up. I remember 9/11 still. I remember what that was like. And yeah, that was never a war we were going to win. But that's exactly why we should never have gotten involved in it. You shouldn't get involved in never-ending military conflicts you have no hope of actually winning. And also, that is true. It is... The Taliban are evil. Don't get me wrong here, but I don't think we're ever going to actually root them out. Yeah, and the picture of them imitating the raising the flag on Iwo Jima, it's just depressing. But let me put it this way, the most advanced military in the world fought them nonstop for 20 years. Basically, the entirety of life that I can remember. One of my earliest memories is 9/11. I was 6 years old. And I still remember it. And I remember people calling for us to do something about it. And I admit that Bush was put into a very difficult position because everyone wanted the U.S. government to do something about, like, in response to 9/11. And what do you do at that point? Well, the thing is, we occupied them because we really couldn't fight. What are we going to do? Go to every cave network in Afghanistan and try to root them out one by one? It's not going to work. It never has worked. Mountains do not favor an invader. And also, yes, we did. We created the Mujahideen who became the Taliban. We created that problem. And yeah, bombing it, sure, but when you consider that most of the country is mountains and has a very extensive cave network, the whole country is a bomb shelter. You can bomb all you like, and we have been for 20 years, but hasn't accomplished a whole lot. I think the best thing to do is just avoid it all altogether. It's earned its nickname of the Graveyard of Empires. No empire that has ever invaded Afghanistan has gotten the better of it. And yeah, we've also fucked the North African coast sideways, and well, the Middle East has been fucked for a very long time. We might have made it worse, but the key difference is that the U.S. was actually able to, or that during World War II, Japan was actually able to pose a threat to the United States. And yeah, I would say that the modern Middle East is more the fault of France and the UK and the Sykes-Picot Agreement, but we certainly had our own part to play in that whole fucked up situation. Also, Alexander the Great is one of the only people who ever actually was able to exert control over Afghanistan, so that should tell you just how long it's been since anyone has actually been able to control that country. At least a foreigner. Native Afghanis, and Afghanistan's kind of an odd country because it's very internally divided among ethnic groups, some of whom don't like each other very much. So it's kind of an odd country for that reason, too. And yeah, Alexander the Great was well before Islam added a whole new layer to anyone seeking to control the Middle East. And really, Afghanistan's more Central Asia than the Middle East, but still. The point is, a lot of the conflicts in the Middle East, in Afghanistan, in Central Asia, are hundreds, if not thousands of years old. We have no real business trying to do anything with them. And yeah, that is true, because Islam is the one thing that unites people in Afghanistan. It's Islamic identity, not Afghan identity. That's the only thing they have in common is Islam. They don't have any. It's linguistically, ethnically, they don't have anything in common. But Islam is something they all have in common. It's kind of a weird country. And yeah, that's one of those that was like arming Stalin to fight the Nazis. You hate both parties, but as long as they're fighting each other, they're not a problem for you, I guess. No, Afghanistan is just a tragedy played out over 20 years. And now that the US has left, or is leaving, it's going right back to how it was. I mean, if China wants to jump on that grenade, go right fucking ahead. They can learn. They can learn the way that we did. That it's not. It's not exactly a part of the world you want to be in control of. I mean, the Taliban, they would be like ISIS, I suppose, if they ever really spread outside of Afghanistan to a meaningful degree. But the issue with radical Islam is you can't really fight it. You can kill the men, but you can't. It's like the Hydra. You cut one head off to take its place. I know, and that is a tragedy, but practically what can you really do about the situation? It's like fighting the Hydra. Yeah, every drone strike creates manpower for those groups. ISIS destroyed a lot of things. But and again, the world did nothing. But again, you cut down ISIS, you cut down the Taliban, you cut down Al Qaeda. We fought Al Qaeda. They're still around. We fought the Taliban. They're still around. And also, yeah, Taliban. The Taliban makes Afghanistan into a narco state. It's disgusting. Most of the world's opium is grown in Afghanistan and refined into heroin in North Korea and then shipped to Europe, the US, South America, Africa, wherever the fuck. Also, yeah, Mass Effect is honestly some of the best sci-fi I've in a long time. It's a shame Andromeda was such garbage, but yeah, there's another great documentary I highly recommend you watch called Why We Fight, which goes into just the incestuous relationship between the defense industry and the government. So it was on Netflix a while ago. It's called Why We Fight, and I recommend it. I had a very cool professor or teacher in high school who showed it to us. It's actually as part of a unit on 1984. He was an English teacher, and he showed us Why We Fight, about the military-industrial complex and its relationship with the government, to kind of show like the constant war between Eurasia and East Asia and how it changed depending on every few years. And yeah, no, the Afghanistan National Army is also it's only marginally better than the Taliban is the thing. It's not a country we had any business fucking with. He did. And we proceeded to spend the latter half of the 20th century ignoring him. We didn't listen to Washington when he said to avoid foreign engagements, and then we didn't listen to Eisenhower when he said to watch out for the military-industrial complex, and Look at where we are now. Washington did not want to get involved in foreign wars, and he was 100% correct. But we didn't listen to him. Wait, and it's profitable to wage war these days. Yeah, Washington also warned against political parties, and look at how little we listened to him on that front. Washington is one of those historical figures where I say is almost as good as the myth makes him out to be. Favorite founding father? That is honestly a tough question. They all have their own individual merits. I would say Washington number 1, Jefferson number 2. Washington number 1 because he is as close to like a paragon of American virtue as you will find. He was a genuinely good person. And he symbolizes the U.S. in a way that no president ever since has done. And then Jefferson, because Jefferson was, I would say Jefferson was the most intelligent founding father. And if you read his writing on law, on politics, the man was a genius. And a lot of his ideas still work today, if you extrapolate them out. Ben Franklin was all right. But he was kind of crazy. He didn't think Germans were people. When he was establishing the Pennsylvania militia, he advocated for the use of Germans as infantry because he thought they were expendable, order-following drones. He was kind of an asshole. Also, yeah, Jefferson had his issues, but his political theory and his legal theory were ingenious. And I would say he was the intellectual father of the Declaration of Independence, of the Bill of Rights, and of the U.S. Constitution. And then James Madison, though he's not often counted among the founding fathers, at least not in that core group, he was also a genius. James Madison is one of the most underrated presidents of the 19th century because he knew his shit. He was brilliant. And yeah, he did. Madison was brilliant, but he often gets forgotten in talks about the founding fathers. He was one, but he often gets forgotten. Madison was absolutely brilliant. And actually, his wife was almost as fascinating as he was, if not more so. Dolly Madison was the diplomatic wing of the Madison White House. She did almost all the domestic politics because he, as brilliant as he was not a people person in the slightest. So he relied on her to do a lot of the politicking in D.C. to get senators and congressmen on his side. And even when he had foreign dignitaries over, she was the one who often handled the diplomacy. He was a brilliant administrator, but he was not particularly charismatic, nor was he very, very good, like, in person. He was not a natural diplomat. His wife was, and they were a very effective first couple because of it. And yet she had a hard job, but she was very good at. And yeah, but Dolly Madison was great. Also, my Gypsy has heard something, so she is alerting me to it. No, Dolly Madison is one of the most interesting first ladies in American history. Eleanor Roosevelt being right up there with her. I just think Eleanor Roosevelt would have made a better president than her husband. FDR was kind of a dick. Gypsy, come here. It's okay. It's okay, puppy. Come here. Gypsy, come on. It's okay. Come here. There's a good girl. There's a good girl. She's interesting, that's for damn sure. But in terms of their significance to American history, Dolly Madison and Eleanor Roosevelt, definitely. Because Dolly Madison, basically, she excelled at the things her husband didn't. And yeah, it's FDR. He's a complicated figure, but out and out, he was an asshole. Everyone seems very quick to forgive the fact that he literally interned U.S. citizens on the suspicion that they would betray the U.S., they would betray America. Japanese Americans who had been living in this country for decades, who had no loyalty to Japan whatsoever, and he threw them in internment camps. A few German Americans ended up in them too. It's just they were harder to pick out, and there were a lot more of them. And then you take into account that he denied the admittance of a bunch of Jews who were fleeing the Holocaust. He was an asshole. And yeah, he stacked the Supreme Court. He was about as close to a dictator as the U.S. has ever come. But he ran roughshod over the Constitution. And yeah, he had wartime rules to work with at the very end of his presidency, but early on, we weren't involved in the very early days of World War II. But in a lot of his policies, he completely ignored the Constitution. Also true, if he'd rounded up on Germans en masse, it would have been a lot worse for him. He was able to pick on the Japanese because there were relatively few of them, and they were pretty much localized to the West Coast at that point. I have my own issues with MacArthur, but yeah, he was a better figure from the period than FDR. As someone who studied the Korean War, I have issues with MacArthur not listening to Congress and... Yeah, if MacArthur had... The problem with MacArthur's strategy in Korea is that he didn't fortify south of the Yalu. And if he had done that, he might have been better prepared to take the Chinese counterattack. But he wanted to press further into China, which Congress didn't want to let him do. And honestly, I wager that we wouldn't have been able to win that war if we'd properly invaded China. So honestly, if he had just fortified the southern bank of the Yalu River and braced for the Chinese counterattack, Korea would probably be a united country today. He did. MacArthur was kind of crazy. Well, not just China. He wanted to nuke Manchuria specifically to create an irradiated no man's land. MacArthur and Patton, I would say Patton. Patton was charismatic. His men were willing to follow him to the gates of hell and back. And there were few strategic minds of the Second World War that could match him. There weren't many people who understood armored warfare as well as he did, and I'd say Rommel's one of them. Heinz Guderian, Bernard Montgomery was up there, but Patton was a genius when it came to armored warfare. And Patton is an underrated genius when it comes to armored warfare. Yeah, Patton wanted to continue, he wanted to immediately declare war on the Soviets after World War II was over. And honestly, I've studied the Soviet Union. I have a hard time disagreeing with him. That was our only opportunity to actually topple that government. Georgy Zhukov was also good, but yeah, he was more of an infantry commander than an armored commander. When it came to like modern combined arms warfare, Patton was a visionary. And he's underrated compared to a lot of his German counterparts. Yeah, so they've fallen out in the past. I mean, the Soviet Union was one of Maoist China's big supporters up until the 1960s when you have the Sino-Soviet split. Yeah, I honestly would agree with Patton there, but I could easily see Russia and China going at it in the next 10 to 20 years, especially because, and I can just illustrate it with you here. Give me a second. So China, given how sort of chauvinistic and irredentist they've become, I wouldn't put it past them to try to make a claim on the Russian Far East. So this territory here, particularly the region south of the Amur River, um, that was Chinese up until the middle of the 19th century when Russia conquered it. And there's still a lot of ethnic Chinese living there. They're Manchurians, and I would wager a lot of Manchurians don't particularly like being called Chinese, but um, China wants this back, the Russian Far East. And I don't think Russia would just bend over and give China control over Vladivostok, which is its main Pacific port. So that's one potential flashpoint I could see between Russia and China. And then eyeballs on Siberian. I think China's fine on resources. I don't think it'd be the resources. I think it'd be this Pacific territory here that they want more ports, the terminus of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. They'd probably try to take them if they could, but and yeah, that's the other thing is we're kind of ignoring the fact that China's colonizing East Africa. Yeah, this is a good map of just what China's doing in Africa. China is effectively colonizing most of the eastern and southern parts of the continent. They're spending money on it, and it's not just that they're spending money on it, they're actually exporting people to it. A lot of Chinese businessmen have gone over to Africa to turn a profit on cheap labor. In a lot of ways, Africa is becoming China's China. And they're doing the same thing in Eastern Europe. Actually, a lot of Balkan countries have expressed an interest in seeing that Chinese build infrastructure in their countries. So China is effectively colonizing Africa. It's colonialism by a different name, but it's still colonialism. Not to the same degree they are Africa. Um, they aren't like they have a lot of economic influence over us, but they aren't. They don't own most of our infrastructure, at least not yet. Though they are buying a lot of American energy infrastructure. They aren't buying land here the same way that they are in like Australia, and they aren't exporting people in the same way that they are to Uyghuristan, Tibet, and Africa. Yeah, China's power is almost entirely hard power. They don't have the same kind of soft power that like the U.S. has. Or like Germany's power is almost all soft power. Britain, France, same way. It's all soft power, which is more useful unless like unless a shooting war starts, soft power is more important. That is true. The U.S. is like the cultural powerhouse of the age, but yeah, Africa's got a lot of issues, and Chinese colonialism is only going to make them worse. Yeah, they'll build infrastructure for you, but it's a deal with the devil. And also, Xi Jinping is as close to Mao as China has gotten since Mao himself. He is fucking brutal. Um, yeah, it's China is openly committing 2 genocides, and the world is ignoring it. They are ethnically replacing Tibetans in their homeland, and they're exterminating Uyghurs. I might be wrong here, but I believe Tibetans are now a minority in Tibet, and the Uyghurs are going that way too. That was ridiculous, and I mean, I used to like John Cena because the memes about him were pretty fucking funny, but and then he just bent the knee and cucked to China. It was fucking stupid. I honestly think I honestly think Russia has a difficult time post Putin. He is very smart, and that's what makes him a scary figure. Putin is smart. He is a very intelligent geopolitical mind. Um, but he's also his political power is largely centered around him personally. So when he's gone, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to replace him. So Russia's going to be a weird place when he's gone, though he is relatively young as world leaders go. Thanks for following. I do this every Friday and Sunday usually. Honestly, the Russian oligarchy system is not all that different from the communist system. I mean, average people have it better than they did under communism, but still the oligarchs control almost all the wealth in the country. Depends where you are in Africa. Um, I've heard that Paul Kagame is more or less a dictator, but he's turned Rwanda into an economic powerhouse. And basically, yeah, when the Soviet government collapsed, a lot of the current oligarchs, or at least their parents, bought the state industries for dirt cheap. And yeah, it's I'm not saying that it's anywhere near as bad as the Soviet Union, but your average Russian there is a Russian middle class these days, and life is generally better for Russians now than it was under communism. At least that's my understanding. I mean, I really hope it is. Um, North Korea is one of the greatest tragedies of the 20th century. I think they're nostalgic for it because it was when they were on top. I mean, the Soviet Union was it was the Soviet Union was Russia's modern empire. I mean, it was a communist empire, but they were going to space. They were on top. But these days they ain't what they used to be. But the average Russian is more free than they were under communism. So it's still not like free in the sense of like a North American or a Western European or an Australian, but it's better than it was. And yeah, it's North Korea. I would say is a potential flashpoint for World War III, but North Korea itself as a country is one of the greatest tragedies of the century, or of the last century. Um, and it's scary when you think that East Germany could have been that if the Russians had put somebody crazier in charge, or like Poland or Czechoslovakia or Czechia, Slovakia, Romania. North Korea just happened to get the worst of it when it came to who the Russians put in charge of the country. The Kim dynasty are some of the most brutal psychopaths that the 20th century has ever produced. And North Korea is the world's largest open air prison. It's honestly worse than Stalinism. Uh, what the Kims have accomplished, it combines like the worst aspects of Stalinism and Maoism. I would say that North Korea or that Taiwan is the bigger flashpoint, at least potential flashpoint for World War III. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if I got to see if we got to see World War III in our lifetimes. I'm not excited about that prospect, but it would not surprise me in the slightest if we got to see World War III happen in our lifetime. I mean, I'm a little old at this point to be drafted into that kind of a war, but they are 27-year-olds aren't a number one if they brought the draft back, but oh yeah, the Kims are way crazier than the people they put in charge of East Germany. East Germany was bad. North Korea is on a different level of bad. I've heard, and yeah, India and Pakistan have been bubbling over for a while, but they've been bubbling for the better part of the last century, so who the hell knows where that one's going to go. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you saw China make moves on Taiwan after they host the Winter Olympics in 2022. That'll be their chance to show their power on the world stage, not unlike Berlin 1939. But no, I honestly wouldn't put it past Xi Jinping to do a similar thing that Hitler did, because Hitler used Hitler used the '39 Olympics to show how powerful Nazi Germany was to the world, to intimidate the world, and then 3 years later invades Poland. And yeah, the Russians hosted the Sochi Olympics and then invaded Crimea. That's ridiculous. No, Taiwan is the legitimate Chinese government. Yeah, I don't think India and Pakistan will descend into war. At least I really hope not, because that would be a fucking brutal war. But I don't think they will. I honestly think China and India going to war is a lot more likely than India and Pakistan. Oh, they were? Sorry, that's my fault. My bad, I got that mixed up. Actually, I think, forget oil wars. I think the wars of the 21st century will be water wars. Especially with how the environment has been going. I think you'll see wars fought over water rights. Um, Ethiopia and Egypt have already almost come to blows a few times over or Ethiopia's Nile Dam projects. That would cut off a lot of Egypt's water. Fresh water is going to become a very scarce resource if the environment continues to degrade in the way that it is. And there are a lot of very prominent freshwater rivers that flow through India and the Himalayas. Well, that's the thing is you're gonna see some places dry out and some places get super wet. I can tell you, I live in Maryland, and it has been the rainiest summer that I can remember. It has rained more this summer than it has in such a long time. Like I can honestly can't remember a wetter summer than what we've gotten here in Maryland. Um, and China wouldn't risk annihilation, but also the way the U.S. has been going, China would need the internal collapse of the United States before I think they really made a concerted push for Taiwan. I mean, same story on the East Coast, I can tell you that much. East Coast has been just a mess of rain. At least my particular corner of the East Coast. Granted, Baltimore has always been humid, but this summer has been something else. It is. No, I've lived in like the Baltimore area my whole life. It has never rained this much. They did too, yeah. And last week was incredibly hot here. Last week it was heat index in the low hundreds, which it rarely gets to here. Like usually a hot summer day in Baltimore is like 90 95. It rarely gets this hot here, but this summer has been ridiculous. I think if there's one thing humanity has demonstrated throughout its history as a species, is that we are remarkably adaptable. And I think humanity will survive somehow. We are an adaptable species, and we will find some way to get through this. And things have been things have been bad in the past, but as evidenced by the fact that we're all sitting here talking, we got through it. I think it's going to get a little sketchy there for a while, but I think we're going to get through it as a species at the very least. I am somebody who. I'm very optimistic when I think about the good things that humanity has done. When you think about the beautiful things we've created, the music, the art, the architecture, and I mean the good aspects of science and technology, like the moon landing. I get choked up when I think about the moon landing. I think we will. I think we'll get through it, but I think we are on the verge of another dark age. And these things happen. They happen at like the turning of eras, but it happens. And I think we'll get through it as a species. I wouldn't say America's alone in in the beautiful things we've created, but also I do think that modern Americans are pretty soft compared to like the greatest generation in particular. We ain't what we used to be. Um, Also, yeah, I honestly think the U.S. would be all for Japan beefing up its army, considering they would be our main ally. I have heard of the great man theory of history, and I think it has some merit. Like there have been great people throughout history that have been able to sort of direct the talented people of their age toward a common goal. Charlemagne was one of them. Alexander the Great. They didn't do it alone, but it was their magnetic personalities that sort of directed all of that energy towards a united goal. So I think the great man theory has some merit, but it's not like one individual alone can't change the course of history, but one individual directing the directing a lot of other talented individuals can change the course of history. Look at the Founding Fathers as a prime example. George Washington was a charismatic leader who tied them all together, but he alone couldn't have done it. The Founding Fathers on the whole, with him directing them to a common goal, that was what did it. And also, yes, I would say that American exceptionalism is a product of the Constitution and the form of government that we have. It allows the American people to do quite a lot. Wait. Okay, I missed something here. Burgundy is the junior partner of Holland. What the fuck? I have never seen this happen. They just reverse Uno carded Burgundy. That is something. Wow. I have played a lot of hours of EU4, but I have never seen this happen. I have never seen Holland turn things around on Burgundy like this. I've seen them get independence. I have never seen them do this. This is something. Yeah, they probably just got Burgundy in a lot of debt they couldn't pay back. I know, 1498. And, oh my god. Also, I've got this war in the bag now. That makes it easy for me. Now I don't have to worry about fighting the Britons. Or Bretons. I don't think it's a bug. Holland probably just lucked out. That is something. RNGesus is a fan of Holland this game. I have played over 1,000 hours of EU4. I have never seen something like this happen. Munich. Do I want an alliance with Munich? Or would I prefer Landshut? I think Landshut would be the better ally. Mantua. Wow. You know, this is just bizarre. I have never seen Holland do that. I didn't even know they could do that. I will take those shekels, thank you very much. And let's keep our relationships up with Alcignon, because I'm going to be integrating them next. This is just bizarre. I looked at Burgundy and I was like, wait, when did they lose all their allies? Nope, they just... they became a junior partner to Holland. Yeah, let's cherish what we've just seen happen here. I didn't even know this could happen. Ooh, that was a beefy army they were able to pull together. Gypsy, come here. Come here, puppy. Gypsy, it's okay. Come here. For those of you who are unaware, I am currently looking after my girlfriend's dog while she is on vacation with her mother. Yeah, I would go along with that. There have been people throughout history who have just seized upon their environment and capitalized on it in such a way that allowed them to take hold of the reins of history and direct it as they saw fit. But the sort of great man theory puts too much on the individual person. Technology has made it interesting. I don't think it's impossible, but it certainly has made things more difficult. Movements being more decentralized these days. All right, you've had your fun, Burgundy. Let's put this to an end. There we go. Yeah, no, trying to do that would land you on a lot of lists. All right, there we go. Making progress. Hopefully after this war I can unite my lands to Calais. Also, yeah, someone on Twitter would probably ruin it for everybody. Twitter is a fucking cesspit. I hate it. Nah, Twitter fucking sucks. And I really fucking hate it. Alright, I can finally get my first innovative idea. And an extra Diplo relation. Alright, yeah, we've got this war. Once they became... And the thing is, this is going to make it harder for Burgundy to break out from under Holland. So the subsequent wars should get easier. Yeah, recall that diplomat. I haven't unlocked that one, unfortunately. I would, but I didn't expect this to happen. So, so I didn't think to take that one. I don't think I've seen that. I've watched a lot of South Park, but I don't think I've seen that episode. I honestly, to me, it seems like the South Park guys might be losing their edge. Either that, or the world's just gotten so fucking crazy they have a hard time making fun of it. Because honestly, a lot of the things that have actually been happening sound like the plot of a South Park episode. So, I don't know if those guys are losing their edge or the world has just gotten that fucking nuts. Yeah, I have heard about that. It's ridiculous. Just let people enjoy things. Yeah, no, this war should not last that much longer. They took it. Oh well. It's fine. We're winning dramatically. I don't think Holland can keep this fight up that much longer. Especially because I just took the main war goal. Come on, get there. You outnumber them by a lot. You can win this. As long as you're not being fucking idiots. And you're being fucking idiots. Yeah, that was a bad move on my part. It's fine, I've got manpower to spare. Yeah, I think my navy just lost, but I hadn't built it up at all, so that is what it is. I also didn't hit them with everything that I had. No, that was just me being an idiot, which happens. Which definitely happens. Give this one more month and they should be ready to go. I'll take that hit. Oh, I can call in Scotland for however much good that'll do. Yeah, I knew this was going to be an expensive war. Alright, I think I've got this one. There we go. Yeah, no, Highlander D-Day. This is a bunch of dudes in kilts storming the beach, shouting the word cunt and cutting down Dutchmen with their broadswords. I've actually got a buddy who is going to Scotland to study abroad. He studies the Protestant Reformation, and I'm probably gonna try to visit him there, but he will probably hear the word cunt more times than he hears it when he's hanging around me. That's one of the few stereotypes I am aware of about the Scots, is that they use the word cunt all the time. He's got good taste. Don't know if he's that much of a fan of fried food, but I think he's about to become one. Oh, I can take a bunch of land before I get a coalition. Nice. Probably next year. He's leaving in September, so I probably wouldn't be able to get out to see him for a little while because I just moved and I'm trying to get all my financial ducks in a row. But I've been to England. I've never been to Scotland. Oh, and I would like to visit Scotland. My girlfriend would too, because she's actually of Scottish descent. So she'd like to see Forbes Castle and all that good stuff. Oh, Ren Fair. I usually don't go. Given the way, given the way like COVID and everything has been going on, I doubt we'll have it. Come on, get there. Get there, get there, get there. Yes, there we go. I'm not overly familiar with European football. I watch rugby. I'm not all that familiar with football though. I actually played rugby in high school, but Scotland has some pretty crisp uniforms, if I do say so myself. I like the tartan plaid on the rugby shorts. Or at least they did in 2019. They had like tartan plaid stripes down the sides of the shorts. It was a real nice look. I got you. I might look into it. That might be fun to do. I don't know. I'm not optimistic that this COVID horse shit is going to be over soon. I was, and then I wasn't. My company was about to go back into the office, but now I don't think they will. So we shall see. I'm getting pretty sick of it. I'm sick of waking up and just seeing my apartment all the time. But I don't really get to leave the house. See, I don't know. I've heard that the Delta variant can just go right through vaccines, so I don't even know how much good that'll do. I don't claim to be an expert on that. Twitch, please don't cancel me, but that's just what I've heard. I mean, I hope that's true. I'm just not optimistic. 2020 taught me not to be overly optimistic. How did they win that? Jesus. Well, I hope that's not the case, because that's the one I got. Come on. Just take the Hague. Come on. Certainly in terms of the effect it'll have on him. God only knows how this is going to psychologically fuck the Zoomers and younger. God, I hope not. See, I remember 9/11. It is not something I'd care to see again in my lifetime. No, I remember that day. I was in school and my parents pulled me out of it early. That was my generation's Kennedy assassination. I guarantee you there's not one millennial out there who can't tell you where they were on 9/11. It was a weird day. No, my parents pulled me out of school 10 or 11 in the morning. And then I got home and I saw a replay of the second plane hitting the towers on the news. And I mean, I was a kid. I couldn't really wrap my head around it at the time. I was about 6 years old, but no, I had just turned 7. I had just turned 7, not a few days earlier. I don't remember a whole lot from when I was in second grade, but that day I remember vividly. I did see that on the news too. They didn't pull punches and they showed us that. I didn't have any family in New York, so I didn't have like much of a personal connection to it, but it left its mark on I think a lot of the sort of older end of the millennials. All right, I've got this war in the bag. I want to get as much as I can out of it, so I realize I'm losing money on this deal, but still. Yeah, it was a weird day to see firsthand, I'll tell you that much. Well, I can tell you that there was another flight that was supposed to go down that day, but the passengers got a hold of it. They took control of the plane back and brought it down in a field in Pennsylvania. I remember that too. Almost immediately in the wake of it, everyone was. But the problem with fighting a non-state actor is, I mean, who do you declare war on? That's the issue with fighting these terrorist groups is that they don't have a government behind them. Not really. So who do you invade? Who do you fight with? Alright, I can get that territory too, so let's go. Alright, we united our territory. It's like the war on drugs, it never ends. Because it's the ideas which are really at war with. And ideas are a lot harder to kill than people. Let's mothball all forts. Alright, we've united France. Well, mostly. Yeah. That is another good one where, yeah, we fucked that up royally. Drugs won. Drugs won the war on drugs. The solution isn't to capitulate, it's just... It's difficult to say who you invade when a non-state actor attacks you. I will classify that as something firmly, firmly above my pay grade. As for the war on drugs, that whole thing is fucking stupid. I'm in my ideal America, married lesbian weed farmers own Kalashnikovs. Like, that's not something you're going to be able to actually fight. Prohibition failed miserably. The war on drugs will as well. Alright, we have some new taxes too. Base tax in cane equal to 6. That is another tragedy of that conflict. No, the war on drugs has been just another huge waste of taxpayer money. It's amounted to absolutely fucking nothing. Who the hell knows? All I know is I probably won't like them. And I mean, true, but the problem is they, when they're operating in another country's sovereign territory, what do you do? And the other thing is, how? I mean, we threw everything we had against the Taliban for 2 decades, and it amounted to nothing. See, I don't know if that would work either. I mean, typically they have to want westernization, but... And then they decisively do not want westernization. Also, President Snoop Dogg would be pretty fucking weird, but... Can't be weirder than it has been. I would never stop laughing. See, I for one think we should elect an entire government of professional wrestlers. Because I don't think North Korea is gonna try shit when our guys can body slam fucking Kim Jong Un. Forget democracy. We're progressing to Chadocracy. The most muscle-bound pro wrestlers will be in charge. Exactly. You've got it. If we're gonna get dumb, let's get really fucking dumb, right? Let's see how stupid we can get. He technically was. He's the beginning. But we can go further. Exactly. Full idiocracy. We're already half in the bag there. Why not go the whole fucking hog? Alright, got all of my vassals integrated. No, a government of pro wrestlers by pro wrestlers. The Chatocratic Republic of America. Forget elections. Forget fucking elections. We are going to pick presidents based on who can bench the most. I would pay money to see Vince McMahon as the Speaker of the fucking House. Jesus. C-SPAN would become like fucking Monday Night Raw. I'd be down for that. That is true. Professional wrestling has really fallen pretty fucking far from what it used to be. Alright, they are trying to get liberty from Holland, so I might be able to go to war with them again when that one wraps up. Yeah, I would say so. UFC is a very different animal, but I would say that yeah, it probably did hurt the WWE, given that it's like actual fighting, not a stage show with some folding chairs being smashed on people's heads. Alright, that should save us a bit of money. Let's revoke that and take indebted to the bourgeoisie. Consolidate my loans. Yeah, boxing ain't what it used to be either. Yeah, let's repay these 4% interest rate loans. And chunk out some of these 1% as well. There we go. That's more manageable. Exactly. Could you imagine President Dwayne the fucking Rock Johnson? I would pay any amount of money to see that. And I might get to see it given how weird shit has been getting. God only knows what this place is going to look like in another 10 years. We might get to see the first, like, real pro wrestler president, in which case, fuck it, this might as well happen. That's about where I'm at with a lot of modern politics is, fuck it, this might as well happen. Let's repay that, and that, and that. Alright, we are loan... The Iron Sheik. I dig it. I dig it. God, news would get so much more entertaining if we would just elect professional wrestlers to all political positions. I mean, Jesse the Body Ventura was the governor of, like, Montana or something for a while. Alright, lost some more exhaustion. And I think we are at a good stopping point. So next Sunday, we're continuing our conquest of Brittany and probably conquering the Bretons as well. So until then, I am going to save, and I'll be back on Friday with probably some more Crusader Kings. Alright. You guys have a good night. I've been Renegade Historian, signing off. I'll see you guys next Friday. And keep an eye out for the next episode of the podcast coming out in early September. Alright, see everybody. Have a good